The first cut was so small nobody else would have called it a wound. It was Sunday morning in New Jersey, the kind of gray winter light that made every window look like it had a thin film of milk over it. Outside, the cul-de-sac was quiet except for the occasional hiss of tires on wet slush. Inside, the house smelled like ginger, cumin, and something sweet burning at the edges. Anaya stood in socks on cold tile, holding a wooden spoon like it was the only thing keeping her from saying what she wanted to say. The pot on the stove burped little angry bubbles. Behind her, the dishwasher hummed. Somewhere upstairs, the baby monitor clicked with soft static. Sunita Mehta, her mother-in-law, didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She held up a container from the fridge between two fingers like it was evidence in a courtroom. "You keep these pre-cut onions?" They were normal, sealed, purchased at ShopRite because Anaya had a job, a toddler, and a brain that didn't want to cry over onions at 6:30 p.m. Anaya swallowed. "It saves time." Sunita's smile was gentle, almost maternal. "Time is not saved, Beta. It is invested. A proper wife—" She said it like a phrase that had a capital P and a capital W. "Does not build her home on shortcuts." Anaya's throat tightened. Her mind offered her two choices: laugh like it was nothing, or react like a person being slowly erased. Raj walked in mid-sentence, hair damp from the shower, phone in his hand, already scanning something, work email, family WhatsApp, the million tiny obligations he carried like keys in his pocket. He saw his mother holding the container, saw Anaya's posture stiff as a board. Sunita turned, voice smooth. "I'm only telling her, Raj. If she wants peace in this house, she must learn." Anaya stared at the stove so hard the steam blurred her vision. Raj reached for the mug on the counter as if the right coffee could solve the wrong life. He didn't look at his mother. He didn't look at his wife. He looked at the space between them, like neutrality was a room he could live in. "Ma," he said softly, like he was asking the universe not to break. "It's fine. Anaya's doing great." Sunita tilted her head, pity disguised as pride. "Of course she is. She is trying. But trying is not the same as being." Anaya turned off the stove with a sharp click. The sound landed like a slap. Upstairs, the baby monitor crackled again. A small whimper. Their daughter waking. A new day beginning. Raj finally met Anaya's eyes, and his looked tired. Tired the way people look when they mistake endurance for love. His voice came out in the line that had become the soundtrack of their marriage. "Please," he murmured, almost pleading. "Don't react." Anaya felt something inside her, something quiet and proud and alive, fold in on itself like paper in water. In that moment, she didn't just feel criticized. She felt replaced, not by another woman, by a version of herself she didn't recognize, a proper wife. And she understood with cold clarity that this wasn't about onions. This was about who got to name her in her own home. 2 years earlier, Anaya used to tell the story like it was a trophy. "How did you meet?" people asked at weddings, at dinners, at the endless New Jersey gatherings where every adult somehow became an auntie. Anaya would smile, warm and bright. "Graduate school. He was the only one who didn't pretend he understood statistics." Raj would laugh, that easy, boyish laugh that made strangers feel like friends. "She was the only one who called me out when I said regression, like it was a personality." They'd met in a fluorescent classroom, bonded over coffee runs and shared misery, and then, without warning, bonded over the quiet way Raj listened. Not the performative kind of listening. No dramatic nodding, no big promises, just steady attention, like her words mattered enough to land somewhere safe. When Raj kissed her for the first time, it was outside a campus library, autumn air sharp with leaves and the smell of someone's cinnamon latte. After, he didn't say, "You're mine." He said, "Are you okay?" Anaya, smart, modern, raised with love but also with expectations, had found it thrilling that Raj didn't need to win arguments. He wasn't loud, he wasn't dominating. He didn't make her prove she deserved him. When they fell in love, it felt like adult love. Intentional, calm, chosen. When he told his parents, it did not go like a movie. Sunita Mehta had stared at him like he'd confessed to a crime. "A love marriage?" she repeated like the words tasted bitter. "In America, you children think you can build a life without guidance." Raj's father, Prakash, sat quietly beside her, eyes lowered, hands folded like he was waiting for instructions. Raj tried to joke, tried to soften it. "Ma, it's not like that. She's amazing. She respects culture. Respect is not something you perform," Sunita had said. "It is something you live. Does she speak our language? Does she know our ways? Does she understand what it means to be a wife?" Raj had looked at Anaya afterward, shame bruised under his eyes. "I'm sorry." Anaya, still in the glow of being chosen, had squeezed his hand. "We'll show them. We'll prove it." That was the first compromise. Believing love could prove itself into acceptance. The second compromise came at the wedding. Anaya wanted a small ceremony. Raj wanted peace. Peace became the price tag on every decision. So they had the big wedding. Edison ballroom, enough marigolds to make the air feel thick, enough guests that Anaya's cheeks hurt from smiling. Aunties pinched her face, told her how lucky she was, how handsome Raj was, how good his family was. Sunita, in public, was dazzling. She moved like a queen. She praised Anaya loudly. Such a sweet girl. She held Anaya's chin and said, "Now you are my daughter." Everyone clapped. Everyone sighed like a romance had been approved. Anaya believed it. On the night of their wedding, Sunita had come into the bridal suite, kissed Anaya's forehead and whispered, "Be a proper wife, and your marriage will be blessed." Anaya had laughed softly, thinking it was just old-fashioned advice. She didn't realize it was a warning. At first, it was just visits. Sunita and Prakash came on weekends with boxes of sweets and criticism wrapped in compliments. "This living room is so modern," Sunita would say, eyes scanning the minimalist shelves as if looking for dust. "But maybe add some warmth. A proper home should feel lived in." Anaya would smile, polite. "We like it clean." Sunita would beam. "Of course, but clean is not the same as welcoming." Raj would give Anaya that look, please, like he was asking her to swallow something sharp. "Don't react," he'd whisper later when they were alone. "She doesn't mean it like that." Anaya wanted to believe him. She did believe him. Because he was loving. Because when his parents left, he'd wrap his arms around her from behind, kiss her shoulder, murmur, "Thank you for trying." And it felt like love. Then Anaya got pregnant. And suddenly the visits weren't visits. They were inspections. Sunita brought lists. Diet lists. Baby name lists. Ritual lists. What Anaya should eat. How she should sleep. Which prayers she should say. What she should not say. "Don't announce too early," Sunita warned. "Evil eye." Anaya, modern but not dismissive, tried to respect it. She wore the little black thread. She nodded. She learned. Then the baby came. Mira, small and furious, born during a June heat wave that made New Jersey feel like it was sweating. The first night home, Anaya sat on the couch with Mira against her chest, exhausted in a way that felt primal, like her bones were old. The air conditioner rattled. The house was quiet. Raj knelt beside her, eyes bright with wonder. "We did it," he whispered. Anaya smiled through tears. "We did it." When Mira was 6 weeks old, Sunita called Raj. "I am coming," she announced. "You need help." Raj hesitated, phone pressed to his ear. Anaya, in the kitchen, heard the tone shift, the son becoming the boy. "Ma, we're okay." "Don't insult me," Sunita snapped, then softened immediately. "I'm your mother. I will only stay a little. For Mira." Raj looked at Anaya across the kitchen like he was asking permission he didn't feel entitled to demand. Anaya should have said no, but she was tired, and love had taught her that compromise was maturity. So she said, "Okay, a little." Sunita arrived with 2 suitcases, a pressure cooker, and the confidence of a woman who believed she owned the blueprint to their life. The first week, it actually did help. Sunita cooked. She rocked Mira. She told Anaya to sleep and meant it. She brought warm oil for Anaya's scalp, insisted on massages, insisted on soup, insisted on rest. Anaya thought, maybe this is what family support looks like. And in public, God, in public, Sunita was a dream. At the pediatrician's office, she smiled at the receptionist. "First grandchild," she said proudly. In the neighborhood, she waved at the white moms walking their dogs. "My daughter-in-law is so smart," she told them. "She works and still makes time for baby." People looked at Anaya like she'd won the lottery. "You're so lucky," they'd say. Lucky. At home, Sunita rearranged the kitchen on day 9. Anaya came downstairs in the morning and froze. The spice rack was moved, the plates were moved. The mugs, Anaya's favorite set, were gone from the shelf. Sunita smiled brightly. "I organized for you. This way is better. Efficient." Anaya forced a laugh. "Oh, I had it the way I liked it." Sunita's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes sharpened. "Beta, when you become part of a family, you don't only do what you like, you do what is right." Anaya's mouth went dry. "It's my kitchen." Sunita blinked slowly, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Then she turned her head toward the hallway and called, sing-song, "Raj!" Raj appeared, already tense. "What's up?" Sunita put her hand on his arm. "I'm only helping. But your wife? She's getting upset." Anaya stared at him, waiting for the husband who had once defended her, who had once said love was enough. Raj glanced at Anaya, then at his mother. He smiled weakly. "Anaya, she's just trying to help." Anaya felt heat climb her neck. She moved everything. Raj's shoulders rose and fell in a small defeated breath. "Okay, we can move it back later." Sunita's smile turned softer, sweeter. "See? Peace. It's not difficult." Later, in their bedroom, Anaya whispered, "Raj, I need boundaries." Raj rubbed his face like the skin hurt. "I know, but she's here for Mira, and she's my mom. And I'm your wife." He nodded quickly, eyes pleading. I know. Just, please don't react. If you react, it becomes bigger." Anaya stared at him. "So my feelings are the problem?" "No," he said fast. "No. It's just the way it goes. If we keep things calm, it'll be fine." That was the first time Anaya understood his version of peace. Not a home where everyone felt safe. A home where nobody made noise. Sunita's help grew in steps so reasonable that denying it made Anaya look ungrateful. Step 1. Kitchen. Step 2. Laundry. Anaya folded Mira's tiny clothes one evening while Netflix played quietly in the background. Sunita watched for a minute, then reached over and took a onesie from Anaya's pile. "No," Sunita said gently. "Like this. If you fold like that, it wrinkles." Anaya smiled tightly. "It's a baby onesie." Sunita's laugh was soft, musical. "That's why you must learn now. Habits start small." Step 3. Parenting. When Mira cried, Anaya picked her up instinctively. Sunita would click her tongue. "Too much carrying. She will become spoiled." Anaya swallowed her annoyance. "She's a baby." Sunita's tone stayed calm. "Yes, and she will learn. A proper mother teaches discipline early." Step 4. Appearance. One morning, Anaya wore leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, new mom armor. Sunita looked her up and down, face thoughtful like she was studying a problem. "You should comb your hair," she said. "Raj is a man. Even good men. They look." Anaya's hand froze halfway to her coffee mug. Raj doesn't care. Sunita's smile was pitying. Every man cares. A proper wife doesn't let herself go. Step 5. Voice. Anaya spoke quickly when she was nervous, her American cadence sharp, efficient. Sunita would interrupt mid-sentence with a hand raised like a traffic cop. "Your tone," Sunita would say, eyes kind but firm. "It sounds rude. You're not talking to coworkers. This is family." Anaya started monitoring herself the way you monitor a wound. Careful, cautious, afraid of touching the wrong spot. Raj watched it all and told himself he was protecting peace. He kept saying, "Don't react." And every time he said it, Anaya felt a little more alone. One February evening, freezing rain ticked against the windows like impatient fingers. Anaya stood at the sink, washing rice, when she heard Sunita on the phone in the living room. Her voice was low, sweet, intimate, Sunita's public voice. "Neelam," she cooed. Yes, the baby is beautiful. But you know, in America, girls forget how to be." Anaya's hands stilled in the cold water. Sunita continued, laughing lightly. "Anaya is a good girl, but modern. Too modern. I'm teaching her slowly. Raj needs a proper wife, not a roommate." Anaya's stomach clenched. Raj came home that night with snow in his hair and groceries in his arms. He kissed Anaya's cheek, warm and gentle, then went to greet his mother like a good son. Anaya waited until they were upstairs to speak. "I heard her," she said quietly. Raj frowned. "Heard who?" "Your mom, on the phone. She said you need a proper wife, not a roommate." Raj's face tightened like the words physically hurt him. She didn't mean it like an insult. Anaya laughed once, sharp. "How else can it mean?" Raj's eyes flashed with frustration, then softened into his usual plea. "Please don't react." Anaya's chest felt too tight. "I'm not reacting. I'm telling you I'm being disrespected in my own house." Raj rubbed his temples. "Okay, I'll talk to her." But he didn't. Or maybe he did in the way he always did. Soft hints, gentle nudges, never enough force to make his mother uncomfortable. Sunita never got uncomfortable. Anaya did. By spring, the house felt like it belonged to someone else. The walls were the same, the furniture the same, but the air had changed. Anaya moved through rooms like a guest in her own life, trying not to disturb the peace that wasn't peace. She started texting her best friend Maya late at night. "Maya, you're not crazy." Anaya, "But everyone loves her, even the neighbors." Maya, "That's how it works. Control looks like care to everyone who isn't trapped inside it." Anaya, "Raj keeps saying don't react." Maya, "Girl, that's not peace. That's silence with better branding." Anaya stared at the word branding and almost cried. Because it was true. Sunita had branded her story in the community. Lucky, supported, blessed. And Anaya's reality didn't match the label, so she started doubting herself. That was the most dangerous part. Not the criticism, the confusion. There had been a time, Anaya remembered it the way you remember summer in January, when Raj had actually been brave. Early in their marriage, Sunita had commented on Anaya's cooking after a dinner. "Too spicy," Sunita had said lightly, wiping her mouth with a napkin. "And the rotis are thick." Anaya had smiled politely, cheeks burning. Raj, to Anaya's shock, had put his fork down and looked at his mother. "Ma," he'd said, calm but firm. "Anaya cooked for us. If you don't like it, you don't have to comment." Sunita's eyes had widened like she was seeing a stranger. "I'm only being honest." Raj had shrugged. "We're happy." Anaya had gone to bed that night feeling like she had a partner. Like love wasn't just a feeling. It was a choice you defended. She brought that memory out now like a candle in a storm, trying to keep it lit. But each time the wind blew, each time his mother sighed, each time his father looked disappointed, Each time an auntie texted Raj about duty, Raj's courage flickered, until it was mostly smoke. The temple fundraiser was where Anaya realized how alone she was. It was late summer, humid, thick air that made every car feel like an oven. The community center near the temple buzzed with noise. Aunties in bright saris, uncles in polo shirts, kids running around with sticky fingers. Anaya wore a simple salwar suit, blue with small silver embroidery. She'd spent time on her hair, on her makeup, trying to look presentable in Sunita's eyes. Sunita was in her element. She glided from group to group, laughing, touching people's arms, complimenting earrings, praising other women's children. When she introduced Anaya, she held her like a prize. "This is my daughter-in-law," she announced. "So educated, so modern." The word modern came out like a joke everyone understood. People smiled. "Lucky Raj," someone said. Sunita laughed. "He is lucky, yes. But you know, a marriage is work, especially when a girl is Americanized." Anaya's smile froze. Across the room, Raj stood near a table of uncles, talking about work, about interest rates, about everything except the tension building in his wife's chest. Anaya carried a tray of sweets to the dessert table. She'd made them herself, kaju katli, carefully shaped, silver leaf trembling on top. She'd watched YouTube tutorials called her aunt in California, practiced until her fingers hurt. Sunita watched her place the tray down. Then Sunita smiled at a group of women and said, loudly enough for Anaya to hear, "Anaya tried making kaju katli. It's okay. Not like homemade from India, but for an American kitchen, it's fine." The women laughed politely. Anaya's ears rang. One auntie, Neelam, the same one Sunita gossiped with, leaned in and said, "Don't worry, Beta. You will learn. Raj needs someone who understands our ways." Anaya's mouth opened, then closed. She looked across the room at Raj. He was laughing at something an uncle said. He did not look at her. Sunita's hand slid onto Anaya's shoulder like a leash. "Smile," she whispered. "Don't make a scene. Be proper." Anaya's eyes stung. She turned her face away, blinking fast. That's when Sunita leaned close, voice soft like a blessing. "Peace," she murmured. "Peace is earned, Beta, not demanded." Anaya felt humiliation turn into something heavier. Not rage, clarity, because she finally saw the pattern. Sunita shamed her where it wouldn't look like shaming. Raj stayed silent where it wouldn't look like betrayal. And Anaya, if she protested, would become the difficult one. On the car ride home, Mira asleep in her car seat, the highway lights streaking past like blurred stars, Anaya sat rigid in the passenger seat. Raj drove with both hands on the wheel like he was holding his life together by force. Anaya spoke quietly. "You heard her." Raj's jaw tightened. She was joking. "She humiliated me." Raj sighed. "It wasn't that bad." Anaya stared at him. "You didn't even look at me." He swallowed. "I was trying to keep things calm." Anaya's voice cracked just slightly. "At what cost?" Raj glanced at her, then back at the road. "Please don't react," he said again. "We're almost home." Anaya looked out at the dark New Jersey trees whipping by and realized something terrifying. Raj believed home was the place where she stopped talking. After the fundraiser, Anaya tried everything. She bought Sunita a scarf from an Indian boutique in Iselin. Sunita smiled, then corrected how Anaya folded it. She offered to cook with Sunita. Sunita took over the entire meal and told Anaya to watch carefully. She suggested therapy to Raj. Raj looked horrified, like she'd suggested arresting his mother. "Why do we need therapy? We're fine." "We're not fine," Anaya said. "I'm drowning." Raj's eyes filled with guilt, and for a moment Anaya saw the man she loved beneath the obedient sun. "I don't want you to feel like that," he whispered. "Then do something." Raj nodded quickly. Okay, we'll set rules. Like, Ma can't comment on everything." Anaya pulled out a notebook like a person trying to save a sinking ship with a checklist. Rule 1. No rearranging without asking. Rule 2. No comments about my body. Rule 3. Parenting decisions are ours. Rule 4. If there's an issue, you speak to me directly, not through Raj. Raj looked at the list like it was a bomb. This is a lot. It's basic respect, Anaya said. Raj chewed his lip. Okay, I'll talk to her. He went downstairs that night and sat with his parents in the living room. Anaya could hear muffled voices. The TV turned off. The house suddenly too quiet. Later, Raj came upstairs looking pale. How did it go? Anaya asked. Raj exhaled. She cried. Anaya's stomach sank. Of course she did. Raj rubbed his eyes. She said she feels unwanted, that she came to help and now she's being treated like an intruder. Anaya's voice stayed steady through sheer willpower. She is an intruder when she controls my life. Raj looked wounded. Please, Anaya. She's my mother. And I'm your wife, Anaya repeated, like a prayer that no longer worked. Raj's voice rose just slightly, rare for him. Why can't you just ignore it? Why does everything have to become a fight? Anaya stared at him. Because I'm disappearing, Raj, and you're calling it peace. Raj's eyes filled. I'm trying. Anaya felt tears climb too, but she forced them down. Trying isn't the same as choosing. Raj flinched. Downstairs, Sunita's laughter floated up from the kitchen. Bright, casual, like nothing had happened. The rules lasted 3 days. On day 4, Sunita reorganized the pantry again. When Anaya said, "Please don't," Sunita smiled kindly and said, "Don't worry. Raj told me you get emotional. I will be patient." Anaya felt the ground tilt. Raj had translated her boundaries into a flaw. Not, she needs respect, but she is emotional. She is difficult. She reacts. The anniversary trip was supposed to be theirs. Just 2 nights, Cape May, ocean air, quiet streets, no aunties, no rules. Raj had booked a small bed and breakfast with a fireplace. Anaya had bought a new coat, cream-colored, soft, something that made her feel like herself again. They'd talked about it in whispers at night like teenagers planning an escape. 2 nights, Anaya said. Just us. Raj smiled, genuine. Just us? The morning before they were supposed to leave, Anaya woke to the smell of chai and the sound of Sunita's voice. Urgent, dramatic, too calm for real panic. Anaya stepped out of the bedroom and saw Sunita at the kitchen table, phone in hand, face arranged into worry. Raj stood beside her, already spiraling. What happened? Anaya asked. Sunita looked up, eyes wide. My sister in India. Her blood pressure. She fainted. They took her to hospital. Anaya's stomach tightened, sympathy mixing with suspicion. Is she okay? Sunita pressed her hand to her chest. I don't know, but you know, family must do prayers. We must do a puja today, for her safety. Raj nodded immediately. Yes, of course. Anaya's heart started pounding. Raj, our trip. Raj turned toward her like she'd spoken a foreign language. Anaya, my aunt is in the hospital. I'm not saying we don't care, Anaya said carefully. We can do prayers here and still leave tonight. The booking... Sunita's eyes sharpened. How can you leave when family is suffering? Anaya's voice stayed calm, but her hands started shaking. We can't control what happens in India, but we've been planning this for months. Sunita leaned back, disappointed. This is what I mean, Raj. American thinking. Always me, me, me. No sacrifice. Raj's face tightened. He looked torn, like a rope being pulled from both sides. Anaya stepped closer, lowering her voice. Raj, please, we need this. Raj swallowed. We can go another time. Anaya stared at him. We already asked for these days off. We already arranged childcare. I already... Raj's eyes flicked to his mother. and Anaya watched in real time the decision happen, not in words, in allegiance. Raj exhaled, shoulders dropping like surrender. We should stay. Family is more important. The kitchen went quiet except for the refrigerator humming. Anaya felt something inside her snap. Not loud, not dramatic. Clean, like a thread breaking. She looked at Raj, at the man she loved, the man who had chosen her once. "Say it again," she whispered. Raj blinked. "Anaya." "Say it," she insisted, voice rising despite herself. "Tell me to my face that our marriage comes after your mother's approval." Sunita stood, voice soft and shocked. "Beta, why are you speaking like this? We are talking about a sick woman." Anaya turned on her. "No, we're talking about control." Raj's eyes flashed. "Anaya, stop." Anaya laughed, one short, broken sound. "Stop? I've been stopping for a year, Raj. I've been swallowing every comment, every correction, every humiliation. I've been not reacting until I don't recognize myself." Raj's jaw clenched. "This is not the time." "It's always not the time," Anaya shot back. "That's the point." Sunita's face shifted into wounded innocence. "I never wanted this. I only wanted peace." Anaya's voice cut through the room, trembling with truth. "Your peace is me being quiet." Raj stepped closer, lowering his voice like he could contain the explosion. "Anaya, please, don't react." That line, again, hit Anaya like a match. Her eyes burned. "You keep saying that like I'm the problem, like my pain is inconvenient." Raj's voice cracked. "I'm trying to keep everyone okay." Anaya stepped back, gesturing around the kitchen, the rearranged cabinets, the borrowed air, the invisible cage. "Everyone, or just your mother?" Raj looked stunned. "That's not fair." Anaya's tears spilled now, hot and unstoppable. "Fair? Raj, I used to feel like the victory of love, like you chose me and that meant something." Raj's face softened. "I did choose you." "Then choose me again," Anaya whispered, voice breaking, "because right now, you're trading me for approval." Sunita's voice sharpened, no longer sweet. "Raj, she is disrespectful." Anaya turned to Sunita, eyes wild. "You don't get to call me disrespectful in my home." Sunita scoffed. "Your home? This is my son's home." Anaya froze. There it was. The truth spoken out loud. Raj flinched as if slapped, but he still didn't speak. Anaya looked at him, waiting for the defense, the boundary, the adulthood. Raj's silence was loud as thunder, and in that silence Anaya understood. Raj wasn't neutral. He was choosing, just quietly, so he wouldn't have to feel like the bad guy. Anaya wiped her face with the back of her hand, breathing hard. "Okay," she said, voice suddenly calm. Raj blinked. "Okay?" Anaya nodded slowly. "Cancel the trip. Do the puja. Be the son you need to be." Raj's shoulders eased, relief washing over him, until he saw Anaya's expression. Not angry, clear-eyed. "And I'll be what I need to be," Anaya added. Raj's relief vanished. "What does that mean?" Anaya stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "It means I'm done paying for your peace with my dignity." Sunita's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" Anaya looked at Sunita, then back at Raj. "I'm saying," Anaya whispered, steady and lethal, "you can have family first, but you can't have me second." Anaya walked upstairs like her legs belonged to someone else. She opened the closet and pulled out the cream coat she'd bought for the trip. Her fingers brushed the soft fabric and she almost laughed at the irony. How she'd dressed for freedom like it was a vacation accessory. Raj followed her, panic rising in his voice. "Anaya, what are you doing?" Anaya opened a suitcase. Raj's face went pale. No, don't." Anaya looked up, eyes red but steady. "I'm not threatening you, Raj. I'm telling you the truth." Raj's voice cracked. "You're leaving? Because of one trip? Anaya's laugh was bitter. One trip? Raj, it's never been one trip. She folded Mira's pajamas with shaking hands. It's every time your mother corrected me and you told me to stay quiet. It's every time you asked me to be the bigger person while she got smaller and smaller boundaries. Raj stepped closer, pleading. Anaya, please, talk to me. I have been talking, Anaya said, voice trembling. You just didn't listen because it was easier to call it reacting. Raj swallowed hard. What do you want me to do? Anaya stopped folding and looked him dead in the eyes. I want you to be my husband, she said. Not your mother's translator, not her peacekeeper, not her good boy. Raj flinched like the words stung. Downstairs, the sound of Sunita moving pots, preparing for the puja, filled the house like a soundtrack of normalcy. Raj whispered, She'll be devastated if we push back. Anaya's eyes narrowed. So will I. The difference is you've been letting me be devastated quietly. Raj's throat bobbed. I don't know how to do this. Anaya's voice softened just a fraction. Then learn. Raj's eyes filled with tears. If I confront her, she'll say I'm a bad son. Anaya nodded slowly. And if you don't, you're a bad husband. Rage stared at her like he'd never considered the math. Anaya zipped the suitcase halfway, then stopped. This is your moment, Raj, she whispered. Not mine. I've been fighting alone. I'm tired. Raj's shoulders shook once, like a sob trying to escape. He looked at the suitcase, at Anaya's face, at the door behind him like it was a cliff. Then he turned and walked out. Anaya heard his steps on the stairs. He was going downstairs, to his mother. Anaya stood still, breathing hard, heart pounding. She didn't know if she was about to be saved or confirmed. The living room felt too bright. Sunita had lit a small lamp on the side table, the warm glow making everything look cozy, like a magazine spread titled Family Values. Prakash sat on the couch, hands folded, face tense. He looked like a man who'd spent his whole life letting stronger people decide his emotions for him. Raj stood in front of them, shoulders squared in a way Anaya hadn't seen in a long time. Sunita looked up, smiling as if nothing had happened. Raj, come. We must call the priest. Raj's voice came out low and firm. Ma, we need to talk. Sunita blinked, smile fading slightly. Later. This is important. Raj shook his head. This is important too. Prakash shifted uncomfortably. Raj held up a hand, eyes still on his mother. Ma, you can't keep doing this. Sunita's expression hardened. Doing what? Raj swallowed. Undermining Anaya, criticizing her, treating her like she's a student and you're the teacher. Sunita's eyes widened with offense. I am helping. Raj's voice rose, controlled but shaking. No, you're controlling. Prakash cleared his throat. Raj, she is your mother. Raj turned briefly, eyes flashing. And Anaya is my wife. The words landed heavy. Sunita stood slowly like a queen rising to deliver judgment. So now you speak to me like this? Because she is filling your head? Raj's jaw clenched. No, because I've been a coward. Sunita's face twisted, hurt, anger, betrayal, all woven together. Coward, I raised you. Rage nodded, tears in his eyes. You did, and you raised me to keep peace by keeping quiet. But that's not peace. That's fear. Sunita's voice sharpened. Fear? In my house? Raj's voice broke, but he didn't back down. This isn't your house, Ma. It's mine and Anaya's. Prakash inhaled sharply like he couldn't believe the audacity. Sunita's eyes glistened immediately, the weapon of tears ready on cue. So you will throw your parents out? For a girl who doesn't understand family? Raj shook his head, breath trembling. I'm not throwing you out. I'm setting boundaries. Sunita laughed bitterly through tears. American therapy words. Boundaries. In our culture, Family is everything. Raj nodded, voice steadying. Family is everything. That's why I have to protect mine. Sunita's tears spilled now. I gave up everything for you. I came here. I cooked. I cleaned. Raj cut in, voice firm. And I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't mean Anaya deserves disrespect. Sunita's face contorted. Disrespect? I tell her to comb her hair, to cook properly. Raj's voice rose, shaking. That's not your job. The room went silent. Prakash stared down at his hands. Sunita stared at Raj like she was seeing a stranger, the same look she'd had when he announced his love marriage. Raj took a breath, slower now, steadier. Ma, we love you. Mira loves you. But you can't live here and run our home. You can't correct Anaya like she's failing a test. You can't shame her in public and call it jokes. Sunita's voice trembled. So what? I must pretend she is perfect? Raj shook his head. No. You must treat her like my partner, like an adult, like family. Sunita's face twisted. She doesn't act like family. Raj's eyes flashed. Because you never let her. You keep telling her she has to earn belonging. Sunita's tears turned into anger. A proper wife? Raj cut her off, voice sharp. Stop saying that. Sunita blinked, stunned. Raj's voice softened, but it stayed firm. There is no proper wife, Ma. There is only the wife I chose. And if you can't respect her, you can't stay here. Prakash finally spoke, voice quiet. Raj, you're making your mother sick. Raj turned to him, eyes wet. No, Dad, I'm making her uncomfortable. There's a difference. Prakash looked away, defeated. Sunita's voice went small, wounded. So, you choose her over me. Raj's whole face crumpled with grief. For a second, Anaya, standing at the top of the stairs, unseen, felt her own heart break for him. This was a man tearing himself out of a script he'd been handed at birth. Raj whispered, voice raw, I'm not choosing. I'm growing up. Sunita stared, chest rising and falling fast. Then, quietly, like a curse disguised as sorrow, she said, You will regret this. Raj swallowed hard. Maybe, but I'll regret losing my wife more. Anaya stayed upstairs until she heard the front door open and close. Then silence. She walked down slowly, heart thudding, expecting something. A storm. A victory. A collapse. Raj stood in the living room alone, hands on his hips, eyes red, face drained like he'd run a marathon in place. He looked up when he saw her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Anaya's voice came out barely above a whisper. Did you? Raj nodded, swallowing. They're going to stay with my uncle for now. A few days. Then we'll figure out longer term. Anaya's chest tightened. Your mom? Raj let out a shaky laugh that sounded like pain. She hates me right now. Anaya stared at him. And you? Raj's eyes filled again. I feel like I just broke something sacred. Anaya stepped closer slowly. Maybe what you broke wasn't sacred. Maybe it was just old. Raj's lips trembled. I should have done it sooner. Anaya nodded, tears finally spilling. Yes. Raj flinched like he deserved the punishment in that one word. Anaya looked around the house, the quiet kitchen, the moved spice rack, the air that suddenly felt like it belonged to her again. It didn't feel like a happy ending. It felt like a beginning that would hurt. Raj whispered, Are you staying? Anaya inhaled slowly. I'm here today. Raj's face tightened, pain flashing. What does that mean? It means, Anaya said, voice steady, you don't get to win me back with one conversation. You don't get to set boundaries once and think the war is over. Raj nodded quickly, desperate. I know. Anaya wiped her face. We need therapy. Raj flinched, then nodded again. Okay. Anaya's voice softened just slightly. And we need our own rules. Not your mother's, not your community's. Raj whispered, "Okay." Anaya stared at him for a long moment, then said the truth that had been choking her for months. "I loved you because you were calm," she said. "But calm isn't love if it costs me my voice." Raj closed his eyes, tears slipping free. "I'm sorry." Anaya nodded slowly. "Say it again. But this time, mean it with action." Raj opened his eyes and looked at her. Really looked at her, like he was finally seeing what his silence had done. "I'm sorry," he said, voice breaking. "I thought I was keeping peace. I was just keeping you alone." Anaya's throat tightened. She nodded once. Upstairs, Mira cried out suddenly, small, sharp, demanding life. Anaya and Raj both turned toward the sound. Raj took a step toward the stairs, then paused, looking back at Anaya like he was asking permission not from his mother, but from his marriage. Anaya wiped her cheeks and nodded. "Go," she whispered. "Dad." The word felt strange and new in her mouth. Dad, not son. Raj ran upstairs. Anaya stood in the living room, listening to his footsteps, listening to the house breathe. She didn't know if Sunita would forgive him. She didn't know if the community would whisper. She didn't know if Raj would stay strong when guilt came back like a tide. But for the first time in a long time, Anaya felt something she hadn't felt in her own home. Space. Not silence. Space. She walked into the kitchen and opened the pantry. The jars were still arranged Sunita's way. Anaya stared at them, then started moving them back, slowly, deliberately, one by one, not as revenge, as reclamation. And as she worked, she whispered the line that had haunted her for a year, changing it into something that sounded like a promise instead of a warning. "Peace," she said softly, "shouldn't cost her everything." Then she added, almost to herself, a final truth that hit like a punch and a prayer at the same time. If peace sounds like silence, it was never peace.